Hi everyone, and welcome to our webinar on staying connected and tolerating uncertainty. Now, it has been almost, I think, more than 2 weeks since we have been on lockdown. Most people were working from home before that. We were all trying to sort of social distance even before that. But it was, I think, on 24th or 25th when the lockdown came into place, and then absolutely most things stopped unless very essential or very necessary. So yes, in a lot of ways maybe we have gotten used to sort of living like this. We have adapted to what are the situations, and we are trying to adapt as each day passes, but we may still occasionally struggle with these things. Now, so we will be talking about these things today, about how you can stay connected and how you can tolerate uncertainty. To be honest, there is some inherent uncertainty in the situation, and I think most of us deal with an uncertainty in a different manners. It's not necessary that all of us feel uncomfortable with it. Some people are more used to uncertainty because of different reasons in their life. Some people are not at all used to uncertainty. They may prefer control, they may prefer knowing for sure. In general, most people prefer knowing than not knowing, but due to various reasons, some people may be more or less tolerant of uncertainty. So, we'll be talking about all of that. In addition, I would like you to know that I have a colleague right here on the chat who's going to help me with all the questions. So if you have any questions, please send them in. Please send them as comments, and I would definitely try and answer them. But I will probably do it towards the end. But you please send them as and when you feel the need. Yeah, I'm hoping that this will be a useful discussion for us, that you might be able to try some of these strategies on your own. And if you have any specific questions about what you have been struggling with, or if something that I'm mentioning is unclear or doesn't sound right, please, I will be more than happy to clarify, understand, explore. So send us those questions. All right, so let's begin. Let's start with what are we doing? Like, what is this whole social distancing, isolation, quarantine about? And what do these things mean? We have been hearing these words thrown around in different ways, and it might be a little confusing to really be clear on what it means. So we've tried to like sort of simplify it. So the first is isolation, and now we're talking about physical isolation, not a sense of isolation, but physical isolation is a strategy for those who are already sick, for those who have been tested positive, and are kept in isolation wards in hospitals. So that is what isolation is about. They are not allowed to interact with anyone, and they are expected, or they are required to stay in those isolation facilities till the time they get better or they are tested negative for a number of times. The second kind of sort of change or distancing or disconnect which has happened is quarantine. Now, whether you are self quarantine, whether you have been prescribed or suggested quarantine, either way, quarantine is for the people who might have been exposed, who were exposed but don't have the symptoms yet. So, of course, you can't always know whether you have been exposed or not, but quarantine is for people who are at a risk of being exposed. For example, people who have been traveling from different countries. Now, airports in different countries have a different risk factor than staying within your home. So if you have traveled, or if somebody who you work with or somebody who you used to interact with has been tested positive, then you are required to be in quarantine. Mostly quarantine has been for a period of 2 weeks, because till now it seems that the symptoms do occur or do come up in the 2 week time period, so you might get tested again at that point, and if symptoms don't develop, good. The last, which is social distancing, which most of us have been suggested, most of us have been practicing, not suggested, now we are required to do it because we are in lockdown, uh, is social distancing. And social distancing is a bit of a misnomer right now. We are not asking or expecting or wanting people to be socially disconnected. Rather, the aim is for everyone to create physical distance between them, because this virus or this concern spreads through in a contagious manner. So if you are in physical proximity of each other, you do not know what someone's history is. So practicing social distancing is a situation or is a strategy for you to keep you and people around you safe. But like we're going to discuss today, social distancing or physical distancing does not mean emotional distancing. We are just trying to maintain a distance so that we are physically protected, we are physically safe. Why is it important to do it? Yesterday I was in a conversation with someone, and they said, what's the whole point of it? I do not have symptoms, why do I have to social distance? And the biggest thing here is that, social distancing is not about whether you have symptoms or not. Social distancing is about protection. It's a preventive measure. It's not a postvention, it's not a treatment measure. Isolation is a treatment measure. Quarantine is also a preventive come treatment measure. It's actually preventive only, but it's also to sort of allow or wait if any symptoms develop. But social distancing is essentially a preventive measure. So it's, if you do not have symptoms, it's all the more important for you to practice social distancing so that you don't get it from anyone and you are safe. So that's the whole purpose of it. It's to protect people around you from developing symptoms. It also helps contain the spread. Like I mentioned, the virus is something which spreads through, in a contagious manner through physical contact, through physical proximity. So if we maintain physical distance, we are slowing down the spread of the disease, which is helpful in flattening the curve. Now, flattening the curve is a public health strategy, whereas social distancing is also a public health strategy, but it's also a personal health strategy. But the whole social distancing bit is a public health strategy, because this concern, when it is happening for so many people, while right now, especially in our country, it seems the health systems are being able to take care of it, but it is so that the influx of patients, influx of people who are being tested does not peak, because then the healthcare system may not be able to provide for it. It is so that the influx and outgoing of people who are tested positive maintains in a rate which is manageable. Otherwise, if it is not manageable, then it is more likely to spread. People are more likely to, be at risk if they do not get the essential services and all of that. So it's, the aim is to slow down the spread so that the healthcare systems also are able to take care of the people who are tested positive in a better manner. Now, why are we talking about it? Why are we, I'm a psychologist at NRR. I'm a mental health professional essentially. Why am I talking about something which is essentially a physical health concern? This pandemic, this virus impacts the lower respiratory system. It has nothing to do with mental health. But why are we still talking about it? We are talking about it because the preventive measure of social distancing has a mental health impact. It is a preventive measure, but it's not, always the most helpful, especially when it comes to mental health. So while we do have to engage in it, the whole point of this conversation is that how do we do something which is necessary, which can have a potential negative mental health impact, but how do we protect ourselves from that mental health impact, or how do we deal better with the mental health impact? So some of the, impact or result of social distancing is feeling lonely. We are humans are social beings. We like interacting, we like talking, we like meeting with people, we like seeing people also. For introverts who may not want to like really engage in conversation, or for anyone who might not really want to engage in conversation, they may still want to be, an observer of a conversation, or just you know, see people. It helps us feel comfortable, it helps us feel supported. So not being able to do it because of the social distancing protocol can result in loneliness. It can also result in boredom and frustration because we are not being able to do things which we usually do to keep ourselves entertained and interested. We cannot go and meet friends, we cannot go and watch the movie, we cannot go to the park, we cannot go to the gym. All of that has been stopped so that we can practice social distancing, which is likely to result in boredom and boredom related frustration. Anger is also something which a lot of people have recently mentioned that they're feeling. They may feel angry because they feel like they didn't cause the disease in any manner, yet they have to suffer for it. They may feel angry towards people who have been tested positive. They may feel angry towards people, towards the healthcare system or the government or anything. There is a chance of a lot of anger because it's limiting our freedom. Then there is worry due to uncertainty. We don't know till how long this is going to last. To be honest, I don't think anyone knows for sure. We are trying to figure it out as we go. But the uncertainty, inherent uncertainty of the situation, is likely to make you worry. And of course, there are practical challenges. How do you get your groceries? How uh, do you work efficiently without really going to work? How do you keep yourself positive? All of these are practical challenges which are a result of social distancing. Specifically, with regard to mental health, it's possible that those who have pre existing mental health conditions, their problems worsen, especially anxiety and depression related concerns. People may uh, feel more anxious, people may feel uh, recently I've seen a lot of sessions. I have heard increased number of panic attacks, increased number of anxiety attacks, and loneliness also contributes to feeling depressed and low. So whoever was already vulnerable to a mental health impact, their condition it could worsen. In addition, because there is people are living in close proximity, if there are pre-existing conflicts or problems, they are likely to increase everywhere across the world. There have been increased reports of domestic violence, of abuse, of in general conflict within the families, because we are not used to living like this. We are used to having our routines, we are used to having our freedom, and when that has been compromised, our mood, our behavior, everything gets impacted. And we are feeling stress, so in order to deal with the stress, we might engage in unhealthy coping behaviors, excessive drinking, excessive smoking, excessive use of social media, or dependence on technology. And that can eventually turn into addictive, like addictions. In fact, research on past pandemics shows that the impact can last even after the experience is over. Even when we we are out of the lockdown, the pandemic is over, people may still experience certain mental health concerns. For example, there might be PTSD symptoms, where there are flashbacks, where there is difficulty adjusting to the new life, meaning the change after the lockdown, just getting used to meeting people and being comfortable in going outside. All of that may happen if someone has been through quarantine or someone has been through isolation. When they get out of that isolation or quarantine, they may feel angry about people treating them differently, trying to avoid them or blaming them. They may feel frustrated because of that. And there might be worries about symptom recurring. People may ask they may sort of become hyper vigilant about health concerns, especially if they have recovered from it. They may feel that they are vulnerable towards it, so they might just worry about it more. Moving to why is it having this impact? What is the relevance of staying connected in our lives? I mean, it's an old adage where we say that humans are social animals, but what does it really mean? Like, what does socializing, staying connected mean for us? I mean, to highlight that point, I would refer to this study called the Good Life Study, which has been going on for approximately 80 years or more than 80 years now, which followed participants over long term. And they found that staying connected is what impacted overall happiness or life satisfaction much more than anything else. Relationships, positive interactions with people who you are close to made people healthier, made people more satisfied, made people more happy, more than success, more than fame, more than money. It was the single most impactful factor. It showed the study concluded that social connectedness and relationships contribute to feeling better, feeling happier. It contributes to better physical health. Your immunity is better if you have good social relationships and good social support, and longer lives. People who have a good network of social support are seen to have longer lifespans. In addition, there is increased resilience, which is essentially bouncing back from difficult experiences or bouncing back from setbacks. It reduces the episodes of anxiety and depression, having good social support, and it improves self esteem. And it works both ways. If you reach out to people, if you nurture relationship with someone, they also benefit from it and you also benefit from it. So being there for someone is also beneficial for you as much as it is beneficial for them. So what can we do in this time where our usual ways of connecting has been interrupted? We are not used to being on the phone, being connecting in this manner, so sort of adapting to this new way of connecting might be a little difficult. So what do we do in such a situation? I mean, I would give you a personal example. uh, I have I personally have been having a bit of struggle in talking to people virtually. Okay, I am not so much of a talking on the phone person or texting person. I can have conversations face to face, but I have not never have been really preferring or good at having phone conversations. And so I am at quite a loss. And now it has been quite some time that we have been in lockdown, so I have adapted to it. But initially, it was a bit of a struggle where whether it was work related, formal, informal, all kinds of conversations just happened over the phone. And for me, honestly, the struggle is more about having informal conversations. Formal conversations I'm used to having on the phone. But informal conversations became a bit of a struggle because I just felt disconnected. But with time and realizing that this is the only option that I have at present, I have tried to sort of incorporate practices which allow me to connect virtually to people, and it has been getting better, and I'm seeing the benefit of it. So I would suggest significantly, like strongly, I would suggest to connect virtually. You can schedule fun activities. You can have a movie night wherein people start watching a movie at the same time, have an interval, end it, sit with a tub of popcorn and have it. This is something that you can do. You can also just have people on a video call, like not necessary that you have to talk with them. Just having someone on while you go through your day and they go through your day can help you feel less isolated, because you can just hear activity, you can see activity without directly being engaged in it. So it's like having someone around. Let's see. Okay, no. uh, it is another thing that you can try is to connect on pre-decided times. What that means is that if you decide that every day is post work or before dinner or after dinner, you will talk with your family or you would talk with your friends, it can give you something to look forward to. It can make the entire day being alone a little more bearable, especially for people who are living alone. If you have already planned that you're going to connect, that anticipation helps you feel better. So connect on pre-decided time so that you can also benefit from looking forward to it. And make plans for what you will do post the lockdown. I don't know when it is going to get over, but I know it will get over. I know we would gradually come back to, life as it was, or in a new way, but we would be out of this. So make plans for it. It gives you again something to look forward to. It gives us a sense of positivity that okay, there is chance and hope that things will be good, and it helps us connect with people. It is also an opportunity to reach out and check in with people who you haven't been in touch with. I would really suggest doing it for people who you know might be more vulnerable. For example, people who live alone, people who may have anxiety issues, so on and so forth. So reach out and check in with them. You may not have felt the need to really check in with them, or you might have just grown apart, but because now we might have a little bit of extra time, or some people do, just being there for someone who might be a little more vulnerable can be a good way to stay connected. It could be a good way to re-establish old relationships, whether it is old friends, old colleagues, cousins, extended family members, whoever you would not talk to otherwise. This is a good opportunity to sort of reconnect with them. Share what you have been going through, update them. If you're feeling not so good, share. If you would like, you could share that with them, and listen to what they have to say. Excuse me, let me have a sip of water. So share what is going on in your mind, what has been going on in your life, and also listen to what they have to say. And this, just because you have reconnected right now, you can also use this opportunity to explore how you can continue to stay connected. The other thing that you can do to stay connected is to practice gratitude as part of staying connected. Express appreciation to those who are around you, who are helping you feel better, who are helping you do, take care of your responsibilities, who are helping you get through this time. Be specific. If for example, if your neighbor volunteers to pick up vegetables for you when they are going out, be specific and be thankful for it, and express that appreciation clearly. And you can turn it into action by saying, okay, so the next week I would go out and you don't have to go out, and I would pick it up for you. So gratitude, excuse me, is not just about appreciating and saying thank you. You can also turn it into action by doing something good for someone who has shown you a positive, who's taken a positive step for you. We can extend it to people who maybe are not as fortunate as we are, who might not be able to sort of reciprocate the effort. But just being kind towards people who are less fortunate, who don't have, whether it's resources, time, or ability as much as we do. And that is also a way to express gratitude. It's to acknowledge that I'm lucky, that I'm grateful, that I have this opportunity or these resources. I mean, personally, if I would tell you, when the lockdown was announced and we were working from home, I think was announced, like in Maharashtra, work from home was announced a week prior to that. So we had already been at home for quite some time, and then the lockdown had started. And the first thing that sort of went through my mind, and I shared it with my colleagues also, is that how lucky we are that our kind of work allows us to work from home. My work, is not getting interrupted because I'm working from home. My organization is capable of letting us working from home, that I have the resources to work from home. And I just felt very, very grateful. I felt grateful that I'm living in a city where saying that essentials or availability of essentials will not be compromised means that it will not be compromised drastically. Yes, if you go to purchase, you might say that, exactly what you preferred might not be available, but essentials are available, in comparison to areas or localities where that is not the situation. So I felt very grateful, I felt very positive. It allowed me to appreciate what was good in my life, which I might have, or honestly, I was taking for granted. Now, what you can, this was for people who, if you're alone, or this is for how to connect to people who are, earlier we were talking about how to connect with people who are not living with you, but what can you do to stay connected to people who live with you, with people at home? Let me just take a pause here and see whether we have questions. No, don't have questions. So, coming back to this, what can we do to stay connected with people at home? You can do chores together, whether it's responsibilities, or whether it's added responsibility, or whether it was one person's responsibility at home. But now you can take part in that responsibility. You can support them in doing that. That can be a very good opportunity, or an experience to bond and nurture your relationship. This can also be a time to rediscover fun things to do together. I mean, as children, we used to play board games so much, or in general, not board games, just fun games. Whether it is charades, or whether it is antakshari, or whatever, we would play it, when our cousins would visit. But I don't think we have done it in a very long time. So this is an opportunity to rediscover that also, making it something to look forward to. If you can't do it every day, then just doing it occasionally, and give everyone something to be excited about, to enjoy, and that can be good. With people at home, if you feel like you're being overworked, if you're overburdened, or if you're overwhelmed, ask for help. Ask for whatever help that you need. If you need help with doing chores, ask for that. If you need someone to hear you out, address your emotions, or help you deal with your emotions, do that. And again, once again, as part of connecting and nurturing relationships, is also to listen to what others have to say. You might not be feeling anxious, you might be doing very well. Someone else in your family can be concerned. They may have anxieties about health, about future, about finances. So listen to their concerns as well. What can you do to stay connected with people at work? Now, we might know how to connect with people who we live with, but because we are with them, but our connections with people at work were because we were going to work. Now we are not. So how do you still maintain a healthy relationship? Because staying connected and having a healthy relationship with your colleagues is important, because that helps you work better. It's a positive environment. You're spending long periods of time with them. I don't think we spend as much time with our family on an everyday basis as much as we do with our colleagues. I mean, for most of us, we are in office 8, 9, 10 hours at a stretch, whereas we rarely get to spend 8, 9 hours other than the weekend or holidays with our family at a stretch. It's usually like broken down through the day. So it's important to stay connected with people who you work with. One way to do it is to repurpose extra time. For example, if you're, say, saving some time because now you're not traveling, can you take 10 minutes, 15 minutes out of that to have a conversation with your colleague, and an informal conversation? Not necessarily repurpose extra time only with regard to work related conversations, but just repurposing extra time to connect with someone. It would help if you actually schedule these conversations, to say that, okay, every day before we have our work catch up, I will call 10 minutes in advance and have an informal conversation. Or you can have a meal or coffee with your colleague virtually. You are probably used to having your lunch with your colleagues, and especially if you're living alone, you can do that virtually. I know for people who are living with families, this is also an opportunity to, say, have meals together with their family members. So you may not really want to do that, but people who are living alone, people who have not a lot of people at home, or for whatever reason are not having meals together, you can also do that to stay connected with people at work. Once again, even for work colleagues, you can just have the video on while working silently. Like we said, just having someone on is a bonding experience. You don't always have to talk, or communicate, or be in each other's faces. Just being in the background is also helpful for connection. You can also partner up for productivity now, because of working from home, and that is what our last webinar was about, that productivity has been impacted by this whole work from home thing. You can also partner up with your colleagues to manage your productivity. For example, coordinate with your colleagues about, okay, this is what I'm going to start, and in 1 hour or 2 hour or in the middle of the day I will get back to you, and we would update each other about our work. It would help in just feeling a sense of support. It would help in feeling a sense of accountability, and just having someone with you in it is helpful. You can also say that on all work calls video is compulsory, but also give the disclaimer that it's okay if you're not dressed, or it's okay if the background is not the neatest, or if your child walks in, or if your pet walks in. These are normal things, so normalizing that, but saying that still we would like to be on video because it's nice to have some face time. Moving on to uncertainty. Let me see, it seems I have a few questions. Just a second, I got a couple of questions. I'm just seeing what that is about. So we have a comment that someone wants me to talk about how to reduce anxiety and frustration apart from just staying connected, and that is what we have moved on to. A lot of anxiety and frustration is coming from uncertainty, and I would briefly introduce the concept of uncertainty and move on to what are the things that you can do to deal with this anxiety and frustration resulting from uncertainty. So, firstly, humans have evolved to have a preference of certainty to uncertainty. Because uncertainty triggers negative emotions, and we are all biologically wired to reduce, or to want to reduce negative emotions. It is not our natural response to learn to stay with negative emotions, or learn to tolerate negative emotions. Immediately we want to change them, and that's why uncertainty doesn't go down well with us, because it constantly triggers negative emotions. But a lot of times what we may do to be certain and to reduce these negative emotions might be a bigger problem than the negative emotions to begin with. For example, I might worry whether I'm prepared for lockdown, and I might try to feel better by, say, panic buying. Now that is creating a bigger problem. Firstly, it maintains the cycle of panic. Two, it negatively impacts other people around you also. So some actions can be contraindicative to feeling better in the long term. What happens when we are intolerant of uncertainty? We might engage in excessive reassurance seeking. We might engage in distraction or double checking what has happened. We might want constant informations, and like I said, all of these things just to worsen our anxiety. So when we are trying to address this, we may want to address these behaviors. In addition, what we need to address when we are dealing with anxiety from uncertainty is our thoughts. Now, like I said, we are biologically wired to prefer certainty, or to want certainty, so much so that our brains would rather be certain about a bad outcome than being uncertain. In a lot of experiments, people, in some experiments, people were asked, in some experiments, people were just given options, and mostly people were so intolerant of anxiety or intolerant of uncertainty that they rather preferred having a negative experience. In one of the studies, people were willing to select shocks, getting electric shocks, instead of just waiting for a, unspecific, non-specific amount of time. At other times, people were asked, in another experiment, people were asked that whether they would worry about whether they're going to lose their job or not, or they would rather prefer losing their job. In which a majority of people say that they would choose losing their job instead of uncertainty, because then they can act on it. So uncertainty is something which triggers negativity. It triggers, in at a thought level, what our brain does is it engages in these thought processes which are unhelpful, such as catastrophization. If there is, in anxiety, there are a lot of thoughts which are like what if questions. What if this happens? What if the lockdown gets extended? What if I lose my job? Now, this what if is an open ended question, and our brain tries to answer that question, because a question is, the answer is uncertain, by imagining the worst case scenario, by imagining a catastrophe. When we say what if the lockdown gets extended, our brain will say yes, the lockdown will get extended and you will be very uncomfortable and it will be the worst thing ever. Our brain makes us jump to conclusions. What that means is that you may not have enough information to really be certain, so our brain would just conclude with whatever information we have. And it also undermines our own ability to deal with the problem. Now, what are the things that you can do to tolerate uncertainty, or tolerate or deal with anxiety or deal with frustration? Now, this is to sort of refer to the suggestion. So let's see how we, what can we do. So the first thing is to work on your thoughts. Avoid asking what if questions. Now, what if questions aren't actually questions. What if questions are just manifestations of worried. So I'm not saying what if the lockdown gets extended. I'm essentially saying I am worried that the lockdown will get extended, or that I don't want the lockdown to get extended. But we usually end up framing it as what if. Now, when we frame it as what if, it looks like we're wanting uncertain, the problem is uncertainty, but whereas the problem is what we are fearing. I'm fearing that the lockdown will get extended and I will not be able to deal with it. But by sort of stating it, not consciously, but out of habit, or that's how it is, we are not able to directly address the problem at hand. So avoid asking what if, and also remember that just because you're worried about it, it does not become a reality. It's natural to worry about whether you're prepared, but it just that worry does not mean that you are not prepared. That worry can make you ask yourself, am I prepared? And then giving an objective answer, or a realistic answer, that yes, I am prepared, or I can be better prepared by doing so and so. So just differentiating that you are not your thoughts are not facts. The next step is to develop a positive mindset. Now, this can sound very absurd. We are going through struggles, we are going through, an experience which none of us have been prepared for in any manner. We are going through times which have come, the changes have been quite sudden. So, having a positive mindset and developing a positive mindset sounds almost like absurd or impossible, but we can do that and it can be very helpful. How you can do it is reflect on what is going right. For example, saying, instead of repeatedly telling ourselves that I'm stuck at home, I'm stuck at home, I'm stuck at home, you can tell yourself, I am safe at home. I am, you know, I have the luxury to be at home and work, or I have my family members with me, or if I don't have my family members with me, my family members are also safe at home wherever they are. Focus on what is right in this situation. A lot of things might be uncomfortable. We might not have chosen any of this if it was on us, for sure. But reflecting on what is right can be very helpful in developing a positive mindset. You can do that by also visualizing a positive outcome and plan for it. Like when we spoke about staying connected, we said make plans for when the pandemic or the lockdown would be over. It gives you something to look forward to, and just by visualizing it, our brain registers it as a possibility. It says it is possible that the lockdown will be over, it is possible that we'll get to do the things that we enjoy, and that triggers a positive attitude. So visualize a positive outcome and plan for it. Plan for what you can do, plan for things which are in your control. A lot is not in our control. Numbers of people tested positive, no, not in our control. Whether the lockdown will get extended, not in our control. How much will the economy be impacted, how will we be impacted by it, not in our control. Lot of things are not in our control, but some things are. So focus on them and plan for them. If it is, what is in our control is to say practice social distancing, so plan for how you can do it successfully. Figuring out ways to entertain yourself, figuring out ways to stay connected, figuring out ways to get essentials without really going out a lot, or just going out the bare minimum. So plan for things which are in your control. And also, even when things are in your control, or even for the things that are in your control, there might not be any ideal or perfect solutions. I go and buy groceries, but instead I would prefer going and buying them at any time. But stores around me are only open for a certain time, which means I have to change my daily routine to accommodate that information or that fact. But I can focus on the fact that essentials are available, and it probably is not ideal for me to be going in between work or whatever, but it's okay. I don't want a perfect solution. What I'm getting right now is good, and that's what I can focus on, and that's what I can make do with. In addition, play to your strengths. At a difficult time, a thing which comes in handy is our strengths, because we're already used to them. It's easy for us to use them. For example, if you are a person who is organized, then that can be a very good strength right now. For example, you can tell people, or you can set up a reminder, say outside the washroom or at the entrance of your house, that every time someone walks in, first they go and wash their hands. So you can organize a step or process so that everybody is reminded of that. Or you can organize a system for who will be doing the household responsibilities. Whatever is your strength might be that you're a very good listener, so you can be of great help to others. You can give them a patient ear, you can give them support, which will, like we discussed, make you feel good as well. Practice tolerating uncertainty. Now, in most situations, we have a hindsight bias. What that means is we believe we are not capable of tolerating uncertainty. We tell ourselves that it's going to be very uncomfortable and that I'm not going to be able to do it. But if we reflect, we realize that there has been uncertainty in the past and we have made it through that. It might have been a different kind of uncertainty, it might have been much less duration, it might have been less intensity, but in general, overall, I can say all of us have some experience of tolerating uncertainty. So it's not a completely new experience for us to be uncertain, to not have information. How have we managed that? How did we manage that? And trying to sort of, use those strategies again. What helps is to make small changes one day at a time. For example, just a drastic change in routine, say, of working from home might be too much for you. So make small changes, try sticking to the same routine, but then one day make breakfast a little early or make lunch a little early. Make small changes, so that you can balance out your routine. Practice acceptance. Now, this one is also very important to deal with anxiety and frustration. Accept that it is normal to get stressed at this point in time. It is normal to get anxious. It is normal, understandable to get frustrated. There's nothing wrong with it. It does not mean that something is amiss in you, that you're not being able to stay calm. The situation is something we could not have imagined. I mean, it's stuff of sci-fi. It has not happened in real life for any of us, thankfully. So remind, it is obvious that we will be stressed out. It is obvious that sometimes we will not know at all to what to do or how to deal with this. I mean, it's unreal. But which makes it normal to be stressed. So accept that you are stressed, accept yourself for feeling this way. And once, in addition to doing that, hold on to things which make you feel stable, which remind you of life as is, your routine. It's very important these days to stick to routine of, waking up, sleeping, your chores, having a pattern. It helps us feel in control, which reduces our anxiety, which reduces our frustration. Hold on to stable relationships in your life, reach out to them, ask for help, and give help, and refer to your existing coping strategies. Whatever you did before the whole pandemic and lockdown situation, just do more of it. You know, do, if you like, say, listening to music while you go to work, take out some time in the morning before you start work to listen to music. Put some music on while you're getting ready. It, in fact, now is a time to sort of do more of your coping strategies, even if you're not feeling anxious. You don't have to listen to music only when you're anxious or angry or frustrated. Just listen to music because in general it makes you feel better. When we are in a time and space where we are likely to be more vulnerable, our mental health is likely to be a little more sensitive, increase the dose of your coping strategies. Sorry about that. Identify and honor your needs. Now, this is very important. A lot of times these days, we have been focusing on what is bothering me, what I want to change, what do I not want. Instead, we need to focus on what do I need right now. If I am feeling overburdened with responsibility, with chores, what do I need right now? Repeatedly saying I do not want to be overburdened with chores, not what you not want, focus on what you need. So the answer to it would be, I need someone to help me do these chores. I need someone else to do these chores. I want to not worry about doing these chores. Understand, identify what is it that you need. If you feel like extremely worried about what is going to happen, what do you need right now? Do you want to be comforted? Do you want to be around people who you love? Do you want to focus on something positive? What do you need to do? What do you want to do? Focus on that and not on what you don't want. Have positive self talk. It's, again, like focusing on the positive, having a positive mindset. Positive self talk also sounds a little weird right now. Trust me, like I'm saying all of this, but it's not always possible for me to practice all of it or even some of it. But these are good things to try. Firstly, focus on what your self talk is. A lot of times we are much more critical of our own selves, we are much more critical of our setbacks, of our faults, than we are of people who we are close to. So the first step is to talk to yourself how you would talk to a friend or how you would talk to a loved one. If your friend came and told you, oh, I'm not being able to be as productive, what are you going to tell them? Are you going to tell them, oh, how can that be? You have to be productive. There is no option. Is that what you're going to tell them? Or you're going to tell them that, yeah, I can imagine, you must be stressed, and, you're not used to working from home, or, we're not used to having to worry about our future. So all of that will compromise your productivity. It's okay. Maybe you can try these few things to be more productive. So talk to yourself how you would talk to a friend. In addition, practice self accepting affirmations. Affirmations are very good is a very good strategy. Affirmations essentially means that you have positive statements that you remind yourself of by saying them out loud to affirm what you believe in. So some examples of self-accepting affirmations would be: it's okay that I am worried right now. It is natural to be worried. It's okay that I'm not being able to focus. I am constantly thinking about what is going to happen. It's okay that I'm not feeling good right now, but I will be able to feel better. So telling yourself these things when you're feeling overwhelmed, when you're feeling that things are not in your control, and when you're just feeling frustrated or worried can help you feel better. In addition, engage in healthy coping strategies. This is also an opportunity to explore new ways of coping. What I mean by that is, you might be used to say your few things that you do to feel better: listening to music, maybe writing, watching movies, calling people who you love or you're close to. All of these would be your usual coping strategies, which is good. But this can also be an opportunity to explore new ways of coping for two reasons. Like I said, that this is a especially vulnerable time for most of us, or for all of us rather. We might need more options. I mean, how many times can you listen to music, or how many times can you write, or what all would you write about? So you may not be able to repeatedly do what you're used to doing, because now we need to do more of coping activities. In addition, it is possible that some of the things that you do, you're not being able to do. Maybe what you earlier used to do when you felt anxious or worried was to go for a walk, and now maybe it's not possible to do that. So what do we do? Does it mean that we don't cope? No, it means that you try new ways of coping. you know Whether it is practicing meditation, whether it is practicing relaxation, whether it is drawing, painting, gardening, whether it is helping other people out, cleaning, whatever it is, explore new ways of coping. It will give you new tricks in your arsenal, which will make you feel again more confident, more comfortable in the present situation. And it would sort of compensate for the coping strategies you're not being able to engage in because of the present situation. So what do we take away? Excuse me. What do we take away from this situation? Firstly, that staying connected, while it is necessary right now, it while social distancing is necessary and suggested right now, it is still very important. Staying connected is important for your physical and mental well-being. You can connect with old friends, new friends, family members virtually while still practicing physical distancing. You don't have to stop talking to people just because you can't meet them. It might feel odd initially. It might feel odd to call people when you're not really used to calling them. It might feel very odd to start with, but connecting virtually can help you sort of bridge that gap which has happened because of social distancing. To feel positive, to develop a positive mindset, right now you can practice gratitude and engage in kind activities to help others, and also as a result help yourself. Practice gratitude by focusing on what are the things that are going right, what are the things that you are grateful for having in your life, even if these were some things which you didn't really notice in the past or you took them for granted. This is a very good opportunity to reflect on your you know things that you have got that are worth being grateful for. Focus on what your needs are and not what you want to avoid. Focus on things which you need. Like I said, if you're feeling overworked, what do you need? Do you need a break? Do you need a few minutes to breathe? Do you need structure? What do you need? And try to take steps towards that. Pay attention to your self talk and keep it positive. Practice self affirming, uh, self accepting affirmations. There is one of my favorite things to say these days is, to remind myself that I'm not stuck at home, I am safe at home. And just telling that to myself, reframing the negative in some sense, helps me, makes it easier for me to be at home. All of us like to go out, we might be feeling a little cooped up, but reminding myself that there is a reason, there's a purpose behind all of this, makes it easier for me to do. Remember to relax and soothe yourself when you're overwhelmed. Explore different ways of coping. Increase the dose of activities that you enjoy. Do more, do it frequently, do it with people who you care for. Suggest them these things. This is what we have right now. These are the things which we can control. I mean, as a end note, let me check. If you have any questions, please send them to me. I don't think there are any questions right now. Just let me check. There don't seem to be any questions. So I'm here for a few more minutes, so you can send in if there are any questions. And I hope I answered the suggestion, or I incorporated the suggestion that there was. As a parting note, this is what I want to say. Recently I saw a video, and I wanted to share that with anybody and all of you who's watching. Is that we are very grateful for. It was a video by a doctor who's working in isolation wards, and they're saying that doctors are the frontline workers, they're the heroes, and absolutely, absolutely right. They're doing great work, and we are very grateful and thankful that they're there at this point, and that they're risking their lives, risking being infected themselves to fulfill their duty and to be there for people. It's not easy. It's almost like we're in a war zone and they're the soldiers. Absolutely. But the doctor said that, we are not frontline workers. In fact, we are the last line of defense. We are the ones who are supposed to deal with a problem when no one else has been able to deal with it. The real frontline workers is everybody for themselves. This is a time for self responsibility. That's why social distancing is your individual responsibility to do, because that is what you are doing to protect yourself. That is what you are doing to protect other people. That is what you're doing to protect the doctors who are there in the hospital by not getting infected. That is what you can control. So focus on how such, I mean, it's uncomfortable. I am not going to mince words, or I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Maybe social distancing, quarantine, not maybe, social distancing, quarantine, isolation, all of these things are difficult, are uncomfortable. But it is what we need to do. And if we see it as a responsibility, if we see it as what we are doing to help everyone, including the doctors, this is making their jobs easier. It's making everybody's job easier who's out there risking it for us. That's our role to play in all of this. We don't have to be a doctor, we don't have to be a delivery person, we don't have to be a person running a grocery store. All of them are very important jobs, but especially right now, but that's not what we do. That's not the way we can contribute right now. But the way we can contribute is by social distancing, is by reaching out to people, is by being kind, and is by having hope and spreading hope. So I think that's something that we should, or we can keep in mind as we go through this difficult time, uh, and hope that things will be better. They will be better. It may take its time, but I'm sure we'll be on the other side of it with learnings, with some sort of emotional or growth at thought level, with new ways of surviving, with new ways of living. And it will be over, and we would be able to reflect on it on hindsight also. So yeah, that's my extra 2 cents in addition to what we discussed. I hope this discussion gave you something to try, something that you can use to stay connected, to deal with your anxiety and frustration, to deal with uncertainty. And that's that. Stay home, stay safe, have a good day.